Hey everybody! Hi, all you Rebel watchers and YouTubers. I am about to make some lasagna in my toaster oven. Keto lasagna. So I took a little ground meat and browned that up ahead of time and add a little garlic salt. And now I'm going to put my lasagna together. I'm going to grease my pan a little bit here, my Pyrex pan, because I'm going to use my toaster oven. I'm going to put a little butter, real butter, on the bottom, just so that my layers don't stick to get to the pan. And I'm going to use the EggLife Wraps to construct my layers instead of actual pasta noodles. And the EggLife white wraps that I'm using have 0 carbs in them. Now they won't fit the whole entire bottom of the pan, but it's just for me. And I suppose you could layer them with 2 so that it fits the whole pan, but this is just the way I'm going to do it so I don't overcook or I don't cook too much. So here we go. Okay, we're going to take our ground meat. We're going to put that in a frying pan. And now I'm going to add some Rayo spaghetti sauce. Okay, I call it gravy. This is actually spaghetti, tomato basil spaghetti sauce. And it's the best one for keto because it's lower in carbs. I'm going to take a half a cup of the sauce and I'm going to put it in the pan with my ground meat. And then I'm going to add some water. Now, I added 2 cups of water, but next time I would add less. I don't want to dilute it too much, but also I didn't cook it long enough to cook off the water and let it thicken up. But it's a little bit runnier than I had wanted. It does thicken up a bit, but next time I won't use as much water to dilute the Rayos because I wanted to have enough without too many carbs. Now I'm going to pre-grate my cheese, my mozzarella cheese, and also my parmesan cheese. Grating that, and I'm using only 1 ounce of cheese. That should go far enough, and then a little bit of parmesan. And the cheese really has no carbs because I'm grating it myself. So I'm going to get that grated up ahead of time, and on the side, I measured it and weighed it on my scale. Doesn't that look yum-delicious? There's the parmigiano. Yum, yum. After we get all that grated up, I put them both in the same dish. It doesn't matter. And then I'm going to put that off to the side until we need it. Getting all the ingredients ready to layer the lasagna. I have my ricotta cheese. I just bought the Walmart brand. I remember growing up, we got our ricotta cheese right at the deli, and you'd go up and say, "Let me have 2 pounds of ricotta," and then they package it up for you. It was like homemade ricotta cheese, it wasn't this process. So there are a few carbs in there, but that's probably one of the higher carb cheeses that they have out there. So I'm going to I add 1 egg to 1 pound of ricotta cheese to hold the cheese together so it doesn't get runny when you're cooking it in your lasagna. So basically, use whatever amount of cheese you want. Depends on how much cheese you want in your layers. Normally, like I said, I wouldn't even be putting any meat in there, but I put 2 cups of the cheese, and then I used 1 egg, and I mixed up the egg into the cheese. I add a little garlic powder. I like my garlic. It's good for you. And then I take a little bit of the red tomato sauce, tomato gravy, whatever you call it, and I add that into the ricotta cheese to give it a little seasoning so it's not too dry. But I am going to add a little green pepper. I just remembered I had some green pepper that I had already cut up in the fridge. So I'm going to chop that up real quick, and then I'm going to add a little green pepper to the meat and gravy that I have simmering on top of the stove. Ooh, 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 it's really going to be looking good here. I can smell it. Yum, yum, yum. Okay, let's finish getting our items ready. We're going to put the egg into the ricotta to hold it together. We're going to mix up that egg. And then we're going to add a little bit of the gravy to it to flavor it and so it's not so dry. That's something I do. You don't have to do that. You can season it if you'd like. Some people put parsley in there. I don't have any parsley and it doesn't really need it today. So we're not going to do that. Then, there you go. There's the gravy. And then we're going to start putting our layers together now that we have all of our ingredients ready to go and prepared for the layering. We're going to start with the ground sirloin and layer that. Yum. And then we're going to move on to, look, you can see the green peppers in there. Really good. Like I said, I could have let the water cook off a little bit more on the tomato sauce so it wouldn't be too runny. But it'll work. Put my ricotta cheese on there. Sprinkle a little of our mozzarella and our parmigiano. And let's start the next layer. Here we go. Layer number 2. We're going to do it all over again the same way. Yep. You don't want to put too much of the gravy in there. We don't want to have it be floating away in your dish or your cheese to get all watered down. And there's the top and the final touches. In my family, we put hard-boiled eggs in all the layers, but we're not going to do that today. We're just going to garnish the top with a little hard-boiled egg that I pre-sliced. And then we're going to top it with our mozzarella cheese and some Parmesan cheese and drizzle a little bit of the spaghetti sauce on the top so it's not too dry. And around the edges, we can put the extra ground meat and cover it up and stick it in the toaster oven and just sit and wait for it to cook at between 350 and 400. Depends on your toaster oven. Oh, wow, look at that. Doesn't that look awesome? Yum, yum. But look who just pulled up. Hi, I'm so glad to see you. I guess I didn't realize what day it was. I knew they were coming, but I just didn't realize it was already today, that day. Wow. So there's the lasagna all cooked up. Doesn't it look good? I cut me a piece. And I'm getting ready to taste it.
So that's it. I did it. I'm going to taste it now to see how it is. I tried to make it as close to the way that I make it with real noodles. However, I wouldn't have let the gravy, the tomato sauce that I cooked the meat in. I don't normally put meat in my lasagna. We have meat as a separate entree. We have our meatballs, a sausage, neck bone, lamb, beef, whatever we throw in our gravy. We have that separate in a separate dish. So we usually make we cook the meat in our gravy, but then we take the meat out. We don't use ground meat and ground it up and have a ground meat gravy. We call that ground meat gravy or fast gravy with our macaroni or with our pasta dishes. That's my family. That's the way my father liked it, and he's from the northern region of Italy. My mother's from the southern region of Italy. Anyway, so I tried to make it as close as I could without using a noodle, pasta noodle, and keeping it low carb. I used 3 of the EggLites, okay, and they're 0 carbs, which is great. But so I used 2 eggs, 1 hard-boiled egg that I sliced up, the other egg that I put in my ricotta cheese to keep it holding together. So if you're making lasagna and you've never made it before and you want to know why did that cheese get all runny, you need to put something to hold the cheese together. And the egg, a raw egg, will cook up and hold your cheese together. And then I put a little bit of my gravy, which this was not my regular gravy. I could have cooked it down a little bit more so it wasn't so runny, because I watered it down probably a little bit too much, but I had just enough. I probably could have used only a cup of water instead of 2 cups of water to that half cup of the Rao's spaghetti sauce that I use. I didn't make homemade sauce. I spiked it up by putting the meat in there and a little green pepper, but yeah, it should have been a little thicker, but I wanted to make sure that I had enough, because I don't like my lasagna dry at all. So I put just a little bit in my ricotta cheese, and then I put a little mozzarella, and I put the parmigiano. I grated that up myself so that I would have the lesser carb cheese in there. And let's see how it tastes. Oh, and I cooked it longer than I thought I needed to in the toaster oven, because I put it on 350, but I needed to have it on 400. I wasn't sure how it would be in a toaster oven as compared to in a real oven. And I don't have an oven in my camper, so that's one of my facts of life. No oven in my camper. Yeah. Okay, let's taste. This is really good. Really good. The ground meat I used was chopped sirloin. I did not use ground meat. I used very lean chopped sirloin. I don't like little gristly things in my ground meat. This is very, very, very good. And as much as I like to smother my pasta in spaghetti gravy, in my red gravy, that's the only thing I would like better, but it's got too many carbs in it, And I just want to show you that the ricotta cheese did firm up. It's not runny. It's really good. I'm really proud, because I just decided I'm going to try these EggLites instead of making some kind of a pasta out of using flour. Why use flour? I just use the egg whites. It's better for you than the flour. Very good. I'm so glad I have leftovers, because leftovers are always better. They really are. There's a bug in front of me. It's another 90-degree day here in Illinois, at Yogi O'Connell's Yogi Bear RV Park, which is part of my 1,000 Trails Trails collection, the extra portion of Trails of the 1,000 Trails at Trails collection membership. And this is healthy. I can get 4 big servings out of that casserole dish that I made with only using 3 layers. I don't use, like I said, I don't usually put meat in my layers, but I wanted to cut down on the dairy and have more meat protein rather than the dairy protein. And it turned out good. Really good. As long as I have electric. But I am going to try this another day in my Dutch oven over the barbecues. I bet you it would work just fine. Because really, the biggest thing you're doing is cooking the ricotta cheese, the egg that's in the ricotta cheese. So that's mostly what you're doing. The meat I already pre-cooked. And the egg white wraps, you don't have to cook them. Yum. Bon appetit. Thanks for joining me. See, it's not just about traveling. You know, nomads have a life just like everybody else. And some people, critics may say that we should be traveling all the time, but we don't need to be traveling all the time. The idea about being a nomad doesn't mean you have to go state to state to entertain other people. It's about how you live your life every day, living this lifestyle, and how you adjust to not having all the conveniences of a sticks and bricks. Leaving a lesser footprint. Using solar. Conserving your water. Conserving your electric. Less is more. Many times, less is more. Thanks for supporting my channel. Have a great day.
And if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high. Even if the sky is falling down.